It's Monday, July the 13th, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor posts a blowout quarter as AI chip demand keeps surging. Chinese President Xi Jinping confirms he'll headline Shanghai's World AI Conference. And a new survey finds most Americans want AI companies to share their wealth. Let's get into it.
Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company posted a blowout second quarter, with June revenue climbing 68% from a year earlier and quarterly sales up 36%, topping analyst expectations. The company said its most advanced 3-nanometer node is effectively the sold out, as every leading AI chip designer competes for capacity. TSMC is scheduled to release its full earnings report and forward guidance later this week, but the June numbers already point to demand for AI hardware that shows no sign of slowing. Analysts say the results ease some of the worry that crept into chip markets after a rocky start to July, when memory makers saw their shares slide on fears that the AI build-out might be cooling. For now, TSMC's order book suggests the appetite for cutting-edge silicon remains as strong as ever.
Meanwhile, in Shanghai,
Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the opening ceremony of the 2026 World AI Conference in Shanghai and deliver a keynote address, marking his first appearance at the country's flagship artificial intelligence gathering. State media confirmed the appearance today, ahead of the conference's opening later this week. Xi is widely expected to use the platform to unveil further details of the World AI Cooperation Organization, a Beijing-backed body meant to coordinate international AI governance and connect countries that have advanced computing resources with those that don't. The move underscores how central AI has become to China's diplomatic strategy, as Beijing positions itself as an alternative rulemaker to Washington on questions of safety, standards, and access to frontier technology.
back in the United States,
A new survey from the research firm Verasight finds that 69% of Americans support forcing artificial intelligence companies to transfer half their stock to a public sovereign wealth fund. The poll of more than 1,600 adults found the idea popular even when respondents were told it originated with Senator Bernie Sanders, though support dipped slightly to 64% under that framing. The survey also found 49% of Americans think government should have final say over AI safety decisions, and 81% believe regulators should be able to block the release of a risky AI system. Researchers linked the sentiment to growing anxiety over tech layoffs, with AI now the most frequently cited reason for job cuts in 2026.
that anxiety hasn't dented demand, though.
Executives across the AI infrastructure business are pushing back on fears that demand is cooling, even as chip stocks have wobbled in recent sessions. Pat Gelsinger, the former Intel chief now at Playground Global, told CNBC he thinks of AI demand as almost unlimited, with energy availability the only real constraint. Mark Boroditsky, chief revenue officer at the cloud computing firm Nebius, said his company simply can't build capacity fast enough to keep up with customer orders. The comments come as businesses grow more selective about where they spend on AI, shifting from experimentation toward measurable return on investment. Executives argue that shift reflects a maturing market, not a shrinking one.
Not every investor is convinced.
Shares of the memory chip maker SK Hynix swung wildly over the past few trading days. The company's American depository receipts jumped nearly 13% during a record-breaking Nasdaq debut on Friday, raising roughly $26.5 billion, the largest U.S. listing ever by a foreign company. But the stock tumbled about 15% when trading resumed in South Korea on Monday, as investors locked in profits. The swings rippled across the broader chip sector, dragging down Micron, SanDisk, and other memory makers that investors group alongside SK Hynix because of their shared exposure to high-bandwidth memory used in AI servers. SK Hynix also announced a new multi-year partnership with NVIDIA to jointly develop next-generation memory for AI factories.
Big money is also rethinking its AI bets.
Investment giants, including JP Morgan Asset Management and Grantham Mayo Van Otterloo, are looking beyond the handful of AI-linked stocks that have dominated emerging market returns. Just 3 technology companies, worth a combined $4.4 trillion, now drive an outsized share of gains across those markets. Fund managers say they're diversifying into sectors like gaming, energy, and consumer goods, including stakes in companies as far afield as a Vietnamese dairy producer. JP Morgan Asset Management is also looking at China and India for exposure beyond the giant chip makers in Taiwan and South Korea. The shift reflects growing unease that emerging market portfolios have become a proxy bet on a small cluster of AI suppliers.
Elsewhere in neurotechnology,
The Chinese brain-computer interface company BrainCo is betting that the future of the technology is wearable, not surgical, positioning itself as a direct rival to Elon Musk's Neuralink. The company, which grew out of a Harvard innovation lab, has raised roughly $280 million to build prosthetics and headband-style devices that read brain activity without implants. BrainCo argues that meaningful breakthroughs in neurotechnology don't require opening the skull, and that external sensors can achieve much of what surgical implants promise, with far less risk. The pitch comes as brain-computer interface trials accelerate broadly, with rivals like Synchron, Paradromics, and Precision Neuroscience all racing to bring competing approaches to patients.
in legal news,
Apple has sued OpenAI in federal court in Northern California, accusing the ChatGPT maker of trade secret theft. The complaint names 2 former Apple employees, Tang Tan and Cheng Liu, and alleges they took confidential information related to Apple's silicon and on-device AI, work with them to OpenAI. Apple has also pointed to more than 400 former employees who now work at OpenAI as evidence of what it calls a coordinated recruitment campaign targeting its hardware and chip design teams. OpenAI responded through a spokesperson, saying the company has no interest in other companies' trade secrets and remains focused on building technology that empowers people. The dispute marks a serious rupture between 2 companies that had also been technology partners.
Meta, meanwhile, is scaling up.
Meta shares jumped more than 7% after an internal memo revealed plans to double the company's total computing power by 2027. The build-out includes a new $10 billion data center in Alberta, Canada, Meta's first facility in the country, and its 33rd data center worldwide. Meta is also preparing to bring its custom AI processor, codenamed Iris, into production in September, developed with Broadcom and manufactured by TSMC to handle the company's internal AI workloads. The expansion signals that Meta intends to keep pace with rivals like Google and Microsoft in the race to secure enough computing capacity for increasingly demanding AI models.
Over at XAI,
Elon Musk's XAI released Grok 4.5, a new model the company is pitching for coding, engineering, and knowledge work rather than general chat. Musk described the model as roughly comparable to Anthropic's Opus 4.7, but faster and cheaper, with pricing set at $2 per million input tokens and $6 per million output tokens. The model is available now in Grok Build and inside the Cursor Coding Assistant, though it isn't yet available to users in the European Union, with regional access expected by mid-July. XAI has also been rolling out new voice options for Grok, expanding a product line the company is increasingly positioning around business and developer use rather than consumer novelty.
in funding news,
The AI chip maker, SambaNova, closed the first tranche of a $1 billion financing round at an $11 billion valuation, led by General Atlantic with participation from T. Rowe Price and Capital Group. The round also brought in JP Morgan Chase as a new inference partner, a sign that traditional financial institutions are looking to diversify beyond NVIDIA for the hardware that powers their AI workloads. It's SambaNova's second mega round in just 5 months, reflecting investor appetite for alternatives to the dominant chip suppliers, even as the broader semiconductor market faces bouts of volatility. The company says the new capital will go toward expanding its inference capacity for enterprise customers.
and in regulation.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the Artificial Intelligence Safety Measures Act, one of the most comprehensive state-level AI laws in the country. The bipartisan measure requires developers of large-scale AI systems to disclose their safety practices, report major incidents, and take concrete steps to reduce risks tied to their technology. It takes effect January 1st, 2027, giving companies roughly a year and a half to come into compliance. Illinois joins a growing list of states moving to fill the regulatory gap left by the absence of comprehensive federal AI legislation, even as the White House pushes competing plans for a unified national framework that would limit how much states can regulate the technology on their own.
That's your briefing for Monday, July 13th, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.